anything, and then we'll take questions.
Yeah, excited to be back home versus Mississippi State this weekend. That's last couple of series at home have been good. It'd be a great series for us to try to get engaged and bounce back. Mississippi State, I look at them offensively and have a ton of respect for those guys. Over 5 of their guys, which means over half their lineups, hitting over 300 in Southeastern Conference play. Left-handedness, it's going to be half the lineup lefty, half righty, and I think if it's 4 and 4, there'll be a switch hitter in there as well. Reese is almost the guy that jumps out to you as like a don't let beat you kind of guy. And we all know that Hines has the power that he's shown throughout his career. And others, like I said, over half their lineups hit 300 Southeastern Conference play. That has everybody's respect. In conference play, Mississippi State's offense has hit for a higher average than their opponents. It hit more doubles and hit more home runs. So that's one of the first things that grabs me offensively. On the mound, I think their bullpen has been slow the last week or so. Conversely, our challenge has probably been offensively. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And we got on base, but not been able to get them in. So how does that match up? They have a ton of great arms in the bullpen. They really do. They're top 10 in America in whip, and definitely strikeouts per 9's almost 12. So this is stuff. And maybe stuff over command a little bit, but their stuff's undeniable. We'll see one left-handed starter in game 1. So Cone has that deception, almost like Anderson, I think, for LSU, if our fans are out here that were here watching game 1 of LSU, a similar type arm with some deception. So I think it's a huge battle. There's some areas that maybe they've been challenged in that we can't force a game, but need to be looking into trying to find ways to create offense and not hug the tree, but get out there on the limb, because that's where the fruit's at. If we have any interest is, putting the ball in play. I think, their errors have been 3 or 4 to 1 compared to their opponents, and stolen bases. I think they've, given up 4 times as many as they've been able to steal. How does all that play in? Because anybody can read a stat sheet and preview. And what does today's practice look like for us? What can we attack today? That's what I care about. Everybody in our league right now is going for wins. It's a critical time in the year for every team in our league. But you have to stay on the process and do some things. We got to keep growing and hopefully figure out how to hook it up offensively. What does practice do to help us get back to that today? And then I think our rotation is Dutton, Fisher, TBA. We've done that 2 of the last 3 weekends. And we've probably had a challenge figuring out really what we want to do on game 3. And so we'll get back. We've got plenty of guys. We just have to figure out who did we use, who did we not use, and who's the best matchup after getting into this series against Mississippi State.
Coach, we talked to Rembert and asked him, is there some comfort in the fact that you guys are still 9-9 with some of the struggles on offense? He said there is. You feel the same way? Do you feel like, hey, to be 9-9 without doing the things you're doing offensively, that you feel like, hey, it's coming, it's just a matter of time?
Earlier in the season, I think I said I think there's more to come with this offense. I temper that a little bit now that we're 40-plus games in there, and we got finite amount of games here. What happens in the next 13, 14, 15 games, ever how many's left in this season? So, we are who we are at a certain point, but there's no doubt that we could do a better job with controlling the strike zone and returning to a collection of good at-bats as a lineup. Linking it back up is definitely something that I know we can get better at. And maybe we just hadn't got hot yet, because I did believe that statement when I made it. I don't think I've ever made a statement to you guys that I didn't honestly believe in. I just hadn't tried to false narrative or tried to make stuff up or speak things into existence unless we really believed them. So I know that our lineup's more capable than what they've been playing. They know it. Coaches know it, fans know it, everybody that cares about the program knows it. And can we get back to that? Can it be good enough? Especially with how we pitched in LSU series, how we come back out and pitched it Tuesday night. can we merge and match the process of the offense, everybody getting to look like themselves again, and this pitching staff continuing to gain confidence and grow and being able to pitch competitive ball games. Can that merge and help us, find some wins? Because, man, everybody's trying to build a resume, and everybody hasn't done enough yet. Everybody has to go win ball games, but we are fortunate from the standpoint of, you're talking about 9-9. I'll throw in number 1 strength of schedule in America. I'll throw in a top 5 RPI in America. And I think with the team's play, I don't think it's going to change a whole lot unless we don't find some wins down the stretch. But we're just going to stay on our process, try to get better offensively, try to keep making sure that we're doing the things pitching to stay consistent, and trying to figure out game 3 starter, who to bring in after Dutton, etc. Who's after Fisher? How do we finish a ball game? Because that hadn't been one guy sitting there like, this is the closer. Tilly has thrown in a lot of bullpen, but he got his first save on the season against Georgia Tech. So we got to stay on the process of how to get there, and hopefully all this merges for us to have success tomorrow night.
When you evaluate your hitting with runners on, do you think it's just guys pressing a little bit, swinging out of the strike zone, those type of things?
Yeah, I think it's all of it. I think I think they want to do it so much. I told you that this was a confident, close, resilient ball club, and I think they all want to do it. I really think if Iverish's ball there in that second inning would have failed, that'd be different. I'd still feel that way a couple of days later. But that's where they have to relax. They can't get, if all you're thinking about's the win and the scoreboard, that's when we get distracted. I'm trying to tell them, like Bill Walsh, he wrote a great book, The Score Will Take Care of Itself. They just got to get back to the process. And we got some guys that are letting the first pitch go by. They're taking the strike, and then here comes the second pitch, and it's to the floor, and they're swinging aimlessly at it. They're not going to hit that in that situation with runners on ever. We can go train for the next 6 months. They're not going to have success at a high rate on that pitch. So, redefining the strike zone will help guys relaxing, and just, you're not responsible for the base runners, you're responsible for your at bat. And it doesn't matter if nobody's out there with 2 outs, keep the inning going, do your job. If there's 12 guys on base, you're responsible for your at bat, not the base runners. And but I absolutely know we'll play better offense. We can't play worse than we played the last 4 games. So we just got to keep working, let the score take care of itself, things of that nature, and just get back to the process of where all these guys have had more success than they had now. And I think it's a press because they really care and trying to do too much, and they've got to stay in a zone where they can do damage and get to good counts. So that's a process that we're trying to work through, and a great day of practice, and then run it out there tomorrow and see if we're ready to go in the first inning.
Injury update on some of your guys.
Yeah, it looks like Petrovic will still be out. We're going to scan him some more and look at his stuff. Carlson will be back. He threw 2/3 of an inning last week. Cook threw his first inning of the year. I would anticipate him being on the 30-man roster. Kel Strickland, don't know if forearm strain type stuff. He was out last weekend on the 30-man. Practice will determine today, but he might be doubtful. He hadn't thrown in a week, and we'll try to throw today. Kel could be out. I think Blue feels better. I think he slid into second base. He got the head out a couple of times. The bat got to the front door and hit some foul balls to the pull side. He's taking better swings. I think he's healthier than he's been, in a month and a half, in 6 weeks. So excited about him. He's doing good. Everybody else positionally, I think, is good. What pitchers am I missing?
Gatwood just hasn't thrown yet, but he's fine.
Yeah, Gatwood hadn't thrown. He's healthy. Some of those guys are about to throw live at bats here today and check in.
All right.